Hello, good afternoon, everyone, or good evening, I should say. It's Shooter. Hey, welcome to Weekend Box Scores Swing Trade Notes Edition. Of course, at the end of the presentation, please review our disclosures. Now, let's jump right into this. Talk about a hot mess. My bias is that we go lower. However, we should have flushed further last week and sooner than we did off of the U.S. downgrade news. Now, looking at the dollar, we came off quite a little bit. Now, obviously, this is just a daily, but that should have held markets up a little bit, and it didn't. So if we start seeing that decoupling from the dollar and the dollar continues to weaken and markets continue to bleed, we're in trouble. Just keep that in mind. So I don't vary from my counts very often. However, I've looked at the technical. I've looked where our support is. As far as TLT, our June 2009 support was 94.57. Then in 2003, our support was way down at 83.63. So I think whether or not we put in that deep of a lower low is going to be really dependent on bad earnings get and how bad jobs get. At this point, we're eroding at guidance. In other words, guidance continually, companies are guiding lower. However, earnings have not been horrible. They really haven't been bad. So that tends to a little mix. However, we are seeing a flight to what's perceived as safety in treasuries. And that's what this little pop was that was, came out on Friday. We filled that first gap, got two more gaps here, got two more gaps. Count suggests that we're going to bounce, but I think we're going to come in and put in just a smidgen lower, around 90.65 is where I've sort of marked the number that I've looked at. Now, I would love it if it flushed right to the floor here, about 87. And I would even love it better if it back tested this low. Then I would have some serious conviction to the upside. But this was a hot little mess here. We didn't really foresee that specifically, but, just my bias for a lower low was there, which was reflective. Now, going into earnings this week, I'm mixed because, I want to chase a lot. Actually, I wanted to chase even a lot more last week. And, when I went back and wrote down what I was going to chase and then didn't do it, I went back and looked. I was flat at the end of the week. So whenever I can see that kind of visual, I think we can chase PLTR if earnings are good, and I think we're going to have a nice gap. So we can watch that at the open because that might be something that runs pretty well because it's one of the favorite children. And then I want to jump over and just look at, short interests, Kavana, UPST, ProKinney, AI, and Wayfair, which were all on the radar last week as far as flow. So looking at earnings on where, Roblox is coming up on Wednesday. We want to watch that. I think UPS is going to be a factor. That's likely a short, by the way. Datadog is also Tuesday morning. However, I don't have enough conviction in to chase any of this at this point. Twilio is Tuesday afternoon. Upstart is there. That had a huge amount of short interest. So obviously earnings are, we want to watch for what's solid as far as earnings. It's a little difficult to chase it in after hours, but you could chase common shares on that. Then we got Alibaba on Thursday morning. Now, we've been doing pretty well in Asia. However, investment is like zero. It's like everybody vanished, so I'm sort of following that theme. I think we head a little bit lower. We also have Ginkgo Bioworks on Wednesday's close. So, should be an interesting week. I think it either saves us or it doesn't. So now I've gone from directional. I am risk off here. I believe we have at least 3% from here and maybe as much as 8%. I think this week's earnings are going to be critical. If we have a lot of misses coming into this week, we have a lot of mid caps. Just what happened with the FANGs. We have any additional weakness that's going to weigh on us. So watch Amazon, Meta, Google, because basically there are generals who have held up. All right. Now, I did not post any new long trades. All right. Let me just, I've still got Hive here because it's a position trade. I'm scaling on that. Same with Bitfarms. I didn't post any short conviction trades, but I have like a gazillion alerts out there. I probably ran 30 scans, maybe as much as 4,000 instruments this weekend, just looking at everything. Looking at the S&P, I'm still looking for a little lower, maybe 444. NASDAQ, I've got a count that is much lower here. So we get a back test of that 379. I will be trying to chase that. Now looking at crypto, we're in this flat 29K when I ran this. we're stuck. I don't know what gets us out of that. The longer we're stuck, the more likely we bleed lower. Now, GBTC, I sort of like it down here at 19, held up really well. And we have that spot ETF on the horizon. They've not flat out, note, since BlackRock filed, they did not flat out decline it as quickly as GBTC. I don't know if that's a tell or not. However, realize we got about a 40%, 38% upside on this, versus spot if they approve a spot ETF. Because at that point, if they approve BlackRock, they have no choice but to approve GBTC. So this is sort of like the XRP trade. We know it's going to come, or at least that's my feeling at this point. I think a spot ETF comes. So looking at Ethereum, it actually looks better than Bitcoin does here. The chart looks better to me. Let me jump over and take a look at my watch list. First thing on my radar this week is Halliburton. Oil is getting a little bit of a push. I was expecting lower, so, my bias switched a little here. So above 39, I sort of want to chase this intermediate wave 3, maybe to 44. I'm going to be very shallow on strikes and go with 40s. Probably September's. If I do that, then below that at 38.96, then I'm going to look for about 50 a back test of this support here around 35. So I've got a trade set up for both directions. That's my thought, just looking here with oil and gas come off. So if we have market weakness, that's why I'm looking at the short side as well here. All right, now Netflix, kind of mixed here. I think this C fails. So I think we come down on our B and it's in, and then we break down to 404 is my thought. However, I've got this structured in a very similar way. Above 436.47, I want to chase that 457. Below 427.96, I want to chase that 404. Now, Lulu is a great day trading stock. However, I like the look here. We get above this 389.06. I want to chase that 435. Be looking at September's as well. And at the same time, if it breaks below that speed line I have here, which is basically the slope, then I want to chase 339 for a back test to the 50-day. Now, Disney, I really like the look here. So, it's not going into primary waves, but really there's not a lot that I want to add there, because of my bias to the downside here. There's just not a lot of risk reward to jump on board here, especially considering how many names gave back their earnings gaps. As a matter of fact, I think Amazon fills its gap this week or next is sort of my thought. But, as long as we hold here, I want a couple more candles. So it's, just looking forward, we get a little bit of a flush coming into Monday down where we tag that 8-day, and then we have a little chance of bouncing, I think, right off those lows. So, but I'm not scaling. It's going to be like a toe in the water kind of thing where I'll probably come in and put some October 85 calls on, just a few of them, just to get my feet wet once we get down there. So that may be something we get preemptive with this week. Now, UPST was on that short list. However, I think this breaks down. At least for the look, down to maybe our 382 back, around $15. It's a nice move on this thing. It's had a nice push up. The shorts might be right on this to the downside. So as soon as we break below that 52.14, then we'll be I'll be staying shallow initially with 50 puts, probably around October as well. Now, Kavana was also on that short list or my review this weekend, so a breakdown of 39, I'm looking for $15. I think it'll be here again with UPST or Kavana. I think with market weakness, these are good shorts. So, but I think UPST and Kavana are better shots short here at the moment. So, but that's what I've got today, folks. Great trading. Until next time.